everyone. Welcome to episode 5. Episode 5. We are half of a decade, if we're measuring tens as decades.
Yes.
10 is a decade.
10 is a decade.
But not in years. 10 episodes being a decade. We are half of a decade of episodes after this podcast gets pushed through. And welcome to my brother, Zach.
I don't know where I'm looking, but...
You don't need to look anywhere. You can just look into my eyes.
Look into the fire.
In the fire. My soulful eyes or the fire. Welcome, Zach. Zach has made the trip all the way from the Windy City of Chicago, Illinois.
Little did you know, it's named the Windy City because...
Politicians have a lot of hot air to blow.
No, I was going to say because of the wind is very... Okay.
That's actually not a true fact. Jamie is our fact checker. It is known as the Windy City, but it is not the Windy City by, what would that be called? A nickname? That's the nickname given to it, but it actually has to do with a lot of politicians' hot air.
I'm fact checking that right now. It says here that politicians are trustworthy, actually. So
yeah, check the. Yeah,
not
good.
Making any sense.
Fact checked. We got a fact checker here.
0 for 1 to start. Well, hey, welcome to episode 5 of this Campfire Conversations podcast. The board is re-examining the potential title of this podcast, and there may be a rebrand in the future. Stay tuned to a potential rebrand. But in the meantime, Zach, welcome to the podcast. Jamie Shaw behind me. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're going back to the model in which we recorded our first podcast with Jamel, Jamie, and myself. Shout out to Jamel, our brother who is not here, and we'll give him a toast. Happy Thanksgiving. Jamel, however, is thousands of miles away in Hotlanta, or at least adjacent. Jamie, do you know what part of Georgia is Jamel in?
I couldn't say for sure. I know he spends time in Savannah as well as Atlanta.
Yeah, wherever the Masters takes place. Is that Savannah?
You can fact check that.
Yeah, we'll fact check. We got a lot of Jamel knows a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of random facts. Zach knows a lot of things, and I know very little. So, but I do know a little about a lot, and hopefully we'll be able to get to a lot of things today. But we're going to start by demonstrating a little brother trivia. And as we do that, you'll get to know a little bit more about my brother, Zach. And odds are you will also learn that Zach knows way more about me than I know about him, which is embarrassing. But I'm going to set the bar low for my brother trivia. Jamie, can you keep score for us?
I can, and also that was Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta, Georgia. Thank you. Yep. Good. Yeah. Well, Jamel, shout out to you. Hope you're enjoying Augusta, Georgia. But in the meantime, we're going to see which brother knows more about the other. Okay. Zach, you go first. We'll alternate questions.
Okay, just looking for my...
That notebook. I have a lot of cool secrets in there. You can read it later.
Okay. We have milk, eggs. Oh, sorry. Things that Josh would not buy at the store. Can I?
Yes, I would not buy either of those. All right, Zach, first question. Go.
Shit. Oh, Ed, how old am I? Let's start easy.
You were born in 1989, making you 34.
That is correct.
Okay, what is my birthday?
You were born in 1985 on the day after Valentine's Day. But I always forget which day is Valentine's Day. So I'm going to go with February 15th.
Ding, ding, ding. 1 for 1.
Okay.
Next question.
All right, let's keep it. We'll keep it easy again.
Jamie, you're keeping score, right?
1 to 1.
1 to 1. All right.
What is my favorite color?
Shit. Green.
Yep. That was good.
Right. Oh, I got a question. Okay. What year did I graduate high school?
Okay, so high school, 03?
Yep. Ding, 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 ding. 2 to 2. All right, Zach.
All right. Well, we're going to step it up a bit here. Name 3 different cities I've lived in since I was 18.
You've lived in Mundelein.
That's since I was 18.
Well, you lived in Mundelein with our parents for a short period of time when you came back. And then you lived in Gurney. No, not Gurney. You lived in Wakanda.
I never lived in okay. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, you said Wakanda?
Wakanda, not the one from the Black Panther. The very opposite version of that in terms of both its whiteness and its lack of wokeness. But Wakanda, Illinois. You lived in Portillo, Chile. Santiago, Chile.
Portillo, is that
Portillo, that's a ski area in Chile.
okay?
Yeah, fact check that too, Jamie.
All right.
So Santiago, Wakanda, Chicago,
Yeah, those are.
and Mundelein, technically for a short
I
stretch.
wouldn't really consider the first two cities, but
Well, do you have what's that? What am I missing? What's the other city?
there's like 7 other ones. That's right, though.
What other cities did you live in?
Let's move on.
Do I get I get credit for that, right? Do I? No, well, Zach gets to answer. Do I meet the mark?
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Cities.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very broad term. Okay. What's the name of,
Metropolitan areas is maybe I was going from that. Like,
which one am I missing though? Oh, Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got Pittsburgh in there too.
there's some.
All right. Name of my first significant girlfriend.
Ooh, now you're significant.
Yep, that's right. Okay. 3-3. All right, next question.
All right. What my biggest phobia, like of the typical phobias?
Oh fuck! I think I used to know this one. I was gonna go with arachnids, but I think I'm gonna go with heights.
No, you were right. It's
spiders.
It's spiders. Yeah,
It is spiders.
I like heights.
Do I get
It's
a
fun.
half? Do I get a half a point because I doubted myself?
I mean,
Jamie, you're the judge.
I don't know what the points are for.
Are you awarding half points?
Yeah, definitely half points. We'll
Okay,
get
I got a
Okay,
half point.
all
I
right.
got one of two options there. Okay. All right. How many years was I at Notre Dame?
6?
Ooh, good answer. 4 years undergrad, 2 years grad. Okay. 3.5 to 4, Zach.
All right. Is this the 5th question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's step it up a bit. Where was I on the morning of September the 11th, 2001?
Fuck yeah.
That's a good question. So September 11th, you would have been 12, just having turned 12, which would have put most students into 7th grade. But since you started late, you were in 6th grade.
That's good.
So you were probably at that point in your homeroom with whomever your homeroom teacher was, which I'm going to just go off on a limb and say it was
You had her too. You had her too?
Mrs. Healy?
Yes.
You were in Mrs. Healy's class.
Walked right
watching
in.
Channel 1 News, I
Yeah,
bet.
because she was the only one that had a TV in her
Shit.
room.
Well, you already answered. You're going to get a question right in about 4 questions because of that.
I'm awarding a point and a half for that.
That was very impressive.
That was,
yeah.
We dug in deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go to 6. I got 6 here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did I move to Denver?
I moved
Which
you
you
out
helped
here.
me move.
Yep, I moved you out here. So it must have been, well, I was at least 16 because I could drive.
You were well beyond 16.
I was well beyond 16 because I could drive pretty fast. And the
Not
older
actually
you are, the faster.
Not that much further than 16. You, interestingly, I know how old you were, but you
All right,
can
let
answer
me
this.
figure. So you were you went. Ace was Mobile.
Mobile.
I was trying to remember
Mobile, Alabama.
how do you guys correct people when they pronounce it differently? For 2 years, so that would have been shit. Why are all our questions just testing our ability to do math with dates?
You're going to have to count down 5 seconds to answer 4.
Wait, what
Three.
was the question again?
To when did I move to Denver? Pick a year.
You can't put a timer on that.
2. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
It's making me flustered. I would say, because you were high school,
Carry the 1.
9,
Subtract the 4.
probably 2010.
2009, but close. Okay, what is the score, Jamie? Is it 5-4 me?
It's 5-5.
Okay.
Because
Not sure that looks. That
you could
sounds
take
like
the lead for the first time.
Some Common Core math you're doing over there. Okay. Question 6.
For me?
Yeah.
All right. Name the philosopher that my dissertation was on.
Husserl.
Okay, good.
Who is funnier, me or Maria? Who do you find funnier?
I laugh more. No, I can't do this one, man. I mean, I think
We're not
you're
asking any
okay.
mom and dad
All right,
questions.
no, all right.
Maria
Let's
can
put it
live
this
with
way.
the answer because we both
Our sense
know.
of humor is closer.
You're-
You're in mine, but Maria is not funny.
Universally, Maria.
She's quite-
Maria
she's
is
quite funny.
probably going to make more people laugh than
She
me.
is. Yes, she is.
But
she
I'm going to
is-
make more people think and laugh 2 days later.
Yes. Yeah. And I think she's more generally accepted as funny, whereas we would
Yeah.
be probably canceled the minute.
Jamie, we thought that our episode should end up being how to get canceled in 30 minutes
Yep.
or less, but
That's-
we won't
that's
even
my goal.
go further than that.
My first
Okay.
appearance on the podcast, and my goal is just to get this out of the way because it's going to come anyway. You
Just
know,
get this shit canceled.
just shut
quick.
this. I just want to get canceled so I can move on with my life.
This
Okay.
comeback is going to be amazing.
All right. Question 7, Zach.
Oh, we kept going. All right. Well, I got my joke.
How many do you have? I asked for 10.
Yeah, but then didn't we agree that okay?
Okay, well, I agree
let me
that
see what
10
I
was
asked.
right. but-
All right, name at least two of the three other members of the band that I was in back in high school. First names is
shit.
okay.
Jim
That was a
was your
giveaway.
singer.
That was a giveaway. Yep.
And then, the rest in peace, but one of the Flynn brothers.
No.
He wasn't in. I thought you were in Samadhi Vibe.
No.
You weren't in Samadhi Vibe?
No.
Shit. Oh, the keyboard player from the north side of Chicago.
Not keyboard.
Drums? What was his name? Joe? Something like that? No, but I know you. Eddie?
Vedder.
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Hetter.
Eddie Van Vetter.
Eddie Van
It
Vetter.
wasn't any of those. It was a guy with a classic Italian name.
Yep.
What was his name?
Mario.
No, it was a guy he ended up going into music production in college.
Yep.
What's his name? I'm not going to get the point. Take the point from me.
His
Frank.
name.
Frank.
His name is Frank.
Half
and
point I'm giving.
shout out to Frank if you ever hear this.
Frank Langarelli.
Frank Lato. I
Frank
just
Lato.
doxed him. I just gave away all his information. That's not
You
right.
doxed him?
You gotta edit that out.
Rest in peace. Wait, which one?
No, he's still alive, I think.
Yep.
With a
yeah.
name like that in
I think
Chicago,
he's
though,
got-
that is a potential problem.
He's got some bands. He's doing well, I think. I don't
Good.
know.
Okay. I get a half.
The other one, by the way, so he's not left out. John Speakerman, drummer, fantastic,
Oh, wow.
excellent.
Shout out to John. Way to go, John. All right. Am I in question 7? Oh, what's my current job title?
Assistant Dean of Punishing Bad Children.
Incorrect.
That's a half. That's a half point.
Associate school director. It is. In essence, my
You
job.
you guys changed the names
We
from
don't.
what
There's
normal
no such
schools
thing as a
do.
bad kid.
He got several promotions since the last time we were hanging out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I was
Kid-
in
I
the
mean,
mix.
and it's not bad kids. It's kids who make bad choices, right? We all agree with that. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What was my? Oh, we'll switch the order. What was my first instrument that I played?
I mean, we all had piano lessons, so you played piano.
Correct.
Yep.
Good. All right. Give me question 8.
All right.
many more do you
name.
have?
All right. Let's see. Name. My favorite Allman Brothers song.
In memory of Elizabeth Reed.
Yep.
Sick.
Fuck yeah. All right. Name one teacher we both had. This is a dead giveaway. We already just said it.
Mrs. Healy.
It's so funny that we both came up with that question. Bonus point to each, Jamie. All right. Number 9 for you, Zach.
I don't think I hit. Let's see. Name the last 4 of my social security number.
1, 2, 3, 4.
No. The name of my longest friend. That's
Your
You know.
longest friend, Rick. You're not friends with Rick anymore. Rick, if you
Rick
listen
Fox,
to
if
this,
you hear this,
Rick Fox.
I've been looking for you everywhere, man. Come back out. Get
Rick Fox.
Reacquainted.
let's
Yeah.
let's hang out.
Did he become Dick later in life, do you think? Or is he still Rick? Or does he go back
I don't know.
Ricky?
I don't know.
Ricky?
I hope he's well though.
Yeah, I hope he is too. All right, that was not the right answer. Who is your Jim? But you can't use Jim twice in two different questions. Longest friend. I don't know. Who is it?
Dan Wood.
Dan. Shit. Okay. What's up, Dan? I'm sure Zach will send you this podcast. If so,
Yep.
spread it to all your boys out in Philly. We got another Philly guy on this podcast too.
He's not in Philly, but he was.
He was in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jamie,
He's
shout
in
out to
Nolans.
Yeah,
Shout
I'm
out to the
definitely not in
Eagles,
Philly either.
Jalen
but-
Hurts.
Yeah. Oh, Monday Night Football coming up.
Oh, yeah. Jason Kelsey. Sexiest man alive, apparently. Did you catch that? Jason Kelsey is up for the Sexiest Man Alive award. And
I don't know who
Travis
that is.
Kelsey is dating Taylor Swift.
Oh, we talked about them.
I think it's a classic, like, you're sexy because you're a good dad, but you're also a multimillionaire, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winner, and that probably helps. Okay, I got one more question. I got two more.
Jeez,
You pick.
man.
You pick. Do you got one more?
No, I don't. I mean, I can make
Okay.
one up. Go for it.
Okay, Mitch Hedberg or Key and Peele?
Okay, I mean, I used to love Mitch Hedberg, but if I listen to him now, I'd be like, that's what I laughed at when I was 16 and getting high. He's still funny, but I never did drugs when I was 16. That's
That's untrue.
that's
That
okay.
is untrue. I think it's public record that.
It's very much probably somewhere in some file.
Key and Peele's got the
Um,
longevity.
Key and Peele, I think, are just
Okay, they're
pretty-
both great.
they've
I
defined.
will award you a half point for a justified answer.
Wait. I'm sorry. I got confused there. I thought you were asking me what my favorite.
No, but you're asking. I just
Totally.
It was a poorly framed question on purpose. but
Yeah.
I was hoping for Mitch Hedberg. I just think he's
Forgot
doing
what this entire thing was
Key and
about.
Peele are brilliant.
I mean, Josh is gonna have to involve some shenanigans to beat you at this point.
Okay, what's the score, Jamie?
You got to go flawless from here, Josh.
That's it. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, you lose by 1.5 points.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, well, good job, Zach. I am proud that I knew
Yeah.
most of those answers pretty
That
damn
was-
well. I didn't ask you too many questions about, like, friends' names and stuff, but, you went there and I did my best.
Yeah, no, you did. You did very well. I had some hard ones in there, like what's in my pocket right now. That was the last one I have.
It's not a banana.
What movie was I, or book was I referencing just there?
John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath.
Maybe, but that's not what I was thinking of.
Of Mice and Men.
Nope.
William Faulkner's
No, and it's not. The Hobbit. It was, The Hobbit.
Tolkien. Is that Tolkien?
Bilbo with Gollum, Smeagol. He's like, they're doing riddles back and forth, and then the last one is what's in my pocket, and Smeagol gets all mad.
What was in his pocket?
Not a banana.
That is a universal answer in most cases.
The Ring of Power.
Just
the
a quick ring.
One
of-
ring to rule them all.
Okay.
Mhm.
Last question before we get serious. Have you ever carried a banana in your pocket?
Oh yeah, all the time. Whenever I get back from the kitchen in our office, I always just carry the banana in my pocket because, I need both hands for other things.
Okay. So you have. Jamie, have you ever carried a banana in your pocket?
Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend it. Let me get on the mic. I wouldn't
Jamie,
recommend
have you
it.
ever carried a banana in your pocket?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it because it gets mashed. Like it gets mashed in your pocket.
Wait, do you put it in your back pocket?
No. Thinking like here.
Jamie keeps walking away from the mic. We are rigorously interviewing him about bananas. This shit's live and it is real, and we're going to talk about being brothers. So,
Wait, are we recording now?
we've been recording this whole time.
Oh shit. I mean, okay, all right.
We don't have any dry runs. This is it. This is your name, image, and likeness all over the media. Okay. These questions, like, and Jamie, I don't mean jump in wherever you want, man, but I was thinking about this, and on the drive around town last night, we're saying, like, what would be interesting to listen to when two brothers are on a podcast together. For those who don't know much, Zach and I are about 5 years apart. Zach and I, obviously we grew up in the same house together, but I moved out in 2003, and Zach would have been, in middle school still. So we spent a lot of time in the later, like, I guess the more recent part of life hanging out. But our age gap and our grade or school gap meant we were never in the same school together. And it's sometimes hard to think, to realize that, because I actually think at this stage in life we connect as peers and as friends. But before we get into any of that, I think, what do you remember? Like, what do you remember about growing up with me?
The 5-year difference made it well, okay, here's some fun memories. I remember telling this story to people recently, and they thought this was extremely dangerous that we did this. But you built ramps. You were really into inline skating for a couple of years.
Aggressive inline?
Aggressive, passive aggressive.
No, it was active aggressive.
Actively.
This was some sick air, bro.
Yeah, just K9, K1 skate.
Mute grabs. I had mute grabs. I did I did 540s. So don't diminish the skill here, but keep going.
Yeah, so
I built ramps.
Just building ramps. He was grinding. He was doing a lot of grinding. So
some grinding.
So all right. So you
Before
built ramps,
cool.
And we grew up with a driveway that kind of went downhill, and you put the ramp at the bottom of the driveway, and then you would have me and my neighborhood friends, all the small stature, lay down in front of the behind the ramp or whatever in front, so that you would try to see how many little children you could clear, and you always did.
Except for that one time. Did you make it to Theo's funeral?
I guess I must have.
I think we took it
completely
off. Yeah, I was too
repressed.
busy trying to film some new 6 shots.
Repressed.
No, for the record, I never killed anyone on my rollerblades, but I did. Yeah, so I guinea pigged you a little bit under the ramp. Interesting first memory.
It's not my first memory. It's just the first memory that I said on this podcast about us. Yeah, I have other memories prior to that.
Oof, one of my less serious memories. God, I feel like such an ass. Remember typewriter?
That would have been the next one probably in my list.
Oh shit, typewriter. Yeah. Typewriter was when we would kind of mess around.
It was a form of torture, basically.
And I would pin you on the ground, and I would tap you on the chest. I was an asshole. I'm sorry, bro.
That's
I wanted to play. I wanted a brother to play with, and you wanted a brother to play with. But I was just so much bigger, just because we're younger kids, that, we had different, I think we both wanted to be friends with each other, but, we were pretty inarticulate guys who were just trying to figure out ways to interact. And my love language at that time was probably some form of physical touch. In the turn, I would wrestle with friends, we'd play football. And I wanted to play that with you, but you were obviously much smaller. And I think sometimes that just came out in ways that have cost you lots of money in therapy.
In therapy, yeah. The therapy money is, we're going to need to settle the...
Call this trip is to help repay the debt.
Yeah, if you break open that $200 bottle later, that would cover it. Reparations. No. I think that was. I think that most brothers, as you know, with your own kids, they have competition, and they share, each other's, or they find ways to interact that aren't always the best for each other, but it just seems to be what you do. I don't know.
Yeah, as a parent, it's interesting because sometimes I'm way more, and Jamie, you can weigh in on this one, but I feel way more upset at times when I see one of the two of them mess around with the other in an unjust way. And I'll get so enraged. I'm like, how could you do this? This is your brother. And they've already emotionally moved on from it. They're not upset about it. They're like, all right, whatever. Do you notice that with your kids at all, Jamie? Like, I know Zion is probably more likely to mess with his older bro, but like, do you ever get more upset than you think the kids are actually upset with each other?
Yeah, definitely. My oldest is an introvert. My youngest is an extrovert. So like, it's a weird dynamic of like the older one really wouldn't mess with him much at all, except he's like driven to it by the younger one, like being in his business. But when his cousins are here, his cousins like his cousin punched Logan in the backseat by accident, and I was like so fiery in defense of my kid, which kind of caught me by surprise. But yeah, definitely just trying to see who's like minding their business and getting fucked with, and that's who I'm kind of riding for. Like,
yeah, it's tricky as a parent because you want your kids to really like get along with each other. And I think, our parents did a good job of at least saying consistently, like, we want you to like be friends with your brother and your sister, be nice to them and, take care of them and planted those seeds. And I think when you're a kid, you're growing up, you don't always see things for what they are. And I think sometimes you kind of, for a number of reasons, miss the mark on that. But when do you think we
Turn the tide.
turn the tide
turn
or
the page.
became friends? Like, when do you think? I don't think we were enemies by any means,
No.
but we were just distant in the sense of like we didn't connect over a lot of shared things.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think we did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know we did, but I don't know for you. When did you notice that shift?
Trying to remember when you were back at the house after all that. There would be times, I guess, maybe vacation, you'd come visit, and I was in high school, and yeah, I think it was partly just I got into some bad shit back in the day. It's nothing I'm terribly proud of. Just some like petty larceny, Grand Theft Auto kind of stuff.
A few guys, you chopped down a few guys.
I mean, yeah, but they survived. So I'm talking about video games. All right, so no, I just remember I felt like I could at a certain age talk to you about things that I couldn't talk to anyone else in our family about. And I think that it was like having someone to, I don't want to say confide, because that sounds, maybe confide is the right word, but like, yeah, it's someone that I felt like wouldn't judge me straight off the bat, but kind of just listened and then would react in a way that didn't make me feel like immediately like, parented in some way.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to kind of get your perspective on that. I think for me, I think it kind of came up at the beginning of this episode, but when you talked about like driving out to Denver with me, like we shared that trip together. And I think at that point, we both kind of felt like you were out of high school, you were in college, you were going through like some real life stuff. I was obviously at that stage, like moving into a new place on my own. And I feel like that stage, like once I got out of college, it felt like what we would connect about was not just like how to get away with stupid shit in high school or college, but how to like support each other. And I feel like at that point, I think things kind of shifted. I think that jumps out to me.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the turning point. I think there was precursors to it in high school for me.
Yeah,
where I started to see you, as a brother in the sense that I think maybe I've come to understand it, which is someone that you can kind of share experiences with, but not necessarily in a I don't know. I think of it as like going on an adventure together, and one person might have, experienced something that the other hasn't, and vice versa, and you just kind of share, together. But there's not any sort of hierarchy necessarily or like the hierarchies can switch. Who is the experienced one in a certain situation changes. Yeah,
right. You kind of gain respect about the other person's like talents and skills, and not just reverence for being older, which I think only holds out for so long. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know what it's like to have an older sibling, so I can't speak to it, but in talking with others who have lived life with an older sibling, I think there's a certain like degree of assumed like hierarchy to a certain extent, but at some point in life that has to switch from like, well, they're just my older sibling to I need to respect them for who they are as a person, and we need to see each other in like horizontal ways. There should
Yep.
be no real hierarchy. in
Yeah,
my
and
opinion.
I think it probably comes along with the time in people's life, young adults' life, when they start to develop their own identity and accept that their identity doesn't have to be modeled always after the older sibling or the parent or whoever else. Whereas earlier, certainly, like we went to the same high school, but you were
Right.
gone by the time I got there, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're Josh's brother." It's like I'm also
Yeah.
just Zach, you know.
Yeah.
I'm also my own person, but that takes time to own and like appropriate. And I think that that's maybe what came around that time when we went out to Denver.
Yeah. You get me thinking about those different, I mean, truly like those different structures of where you fit in birth order, and if you're going through similar places and you're like, I never had it like, if anyone's path I followed in high school at Loyola was probably Dad's, because I wasn't following him as a student, but he worked there.
Right.
So I was trying to like, you know, make him proud or keep his good name intact or kind of, you know, have that association. But it does sound like both you and Maria have talked about this too, is that you do become like a relationship to somebody else. And I don't know how much you actually internalize what that means as you're going through high school, but it sounds like it wasn't insignificant.
No, I think it definitely influenced also the way that I would try to radically differentiate myself from you later on. You know, you were the, not valedictorian, the...
I had some role at graduation.
Yeah,
speech, but I
and you
wasn't
know,
difficult.
and just very successful throughout. And I felt like I maybe had to make my name in a different way, so I did so selling drugs. And
I mean, yeah.
I didn't make any money off of it, so it
No,
wasn't
it
technically
was-
selling. It was
Yeah.
brokering drugs, as my sister has pointed out.
Yeah, the standard for drug dealing at that point was really low.
Yeah,
Really
essentially a text message, a vague text message was enough.
Oh man, if that's the case today, every one of my kids could be expelled who has ever vaped anything. It's like, bro, do you want some of this pineapple punch?
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn vaping, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Can I ask you guys a question?
sure.
So that like hierarchy dynamic between siblings that can shift. Have you either of you felt that shift with your parents as you've like, you know, stepped? I was just at this wedding, my sister's wedding, and feeling like my generation was like the central, you know, kind of like culture setters, and like that the older family members were a little like tangential in a way that I remember when they were the last time I was hanging out with like everyone 10 years ago. They were definitely like what everything orbited around, and now we got the kids, and yeah, it was just interesting. So any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I'm interpreting that question, Jamie, is like, at some point, I feel like certainly with my dad, there became not a fully pure relationship like PER, but like there was things that Dad would look to me for like insights or expertise on, and to some extent, Mom as well. I feel like, you know, there's more like checkpoints in my relationship with my dad when I remember like going from the time in which if he really wanted to pin me to the ground, he could, to the time
That's
in
true.
which
He was-
I could pin him to the ground, or the time in which like he could kind of play around and maybe, you know, pretend he was slower than me, but wasn't really, to the time in which like I could just physically like beat him in something. And I see that happening with Landon and Cal sometimes too, where like I played chase in the playground with them last weekend. I couldn't catch them if I tried. Like they were just faster and more agile, and I needed to go to the chiropractor 3 days later because my hip. So like I think in that sense, hitting some of those benchmarks of being like somewhat of a not quite horizontal with our parents, but like holding a certain degree of like centrality versus like subservience or like.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I don't know when that happened. I don't know if I could say precisely if that's fully happened, but I would say like those moments in my early to mid 20s were kind of when those tides of really more significant verticality in our relationship became a little more horizontal. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think it parallels what you said too about as you come to, like with brothers or whoever, you come to respect them for their own skills and talents and the things that they bring to the table, and you see them as, you know, offering you something that maybe you don't have, or something that you wish you had more of. You know, I think that parents can, I mean, I'm speaking somewhat theoretically here, can admire their kids throughout their lives, or respect them certainly, but that admiration can take on a different role, like you were saying, where, you know, dad or mom, you know, comes to you or comes to me for something that we might be able to help them with or teach them about or give a different perspective on. And I think that's just part of the maturing process.
Speaking of the progression of life, I wanted to talk about our progression in quality whiskeys.
All right.
So we're going to pivot out of brotherhood, and we're going to go to a little bit of what we're drinking tonight. And so I wanted to pop open this bottle from 10th Mountain Distillery. And we've had a really fun time at 10th Mountain in Vail. The last 2 visits we've been there, we've spent some time at their tasting room, met some cool folks out there, and each week I try to introduce some interesting information about bourbon. This week, I actually thought it'd be cool to tell a little bit, because this is like a Colorado thing. Jamie, have you ever heard of 10th Mountain huts by chance? Like mountain, like people going on hut trips? Yeah, a lot of them are 10th Mountain huts. So the 10th Mountain was an infantry division. I don't know if it was in the Army or the military, or well, military is a broad term. Marines. I'm not sure what group they came out of, so we can look that up later and do nothing with that fact. I'm not going to record a new podcast about it, but the 10th Mountain was based out of Camp Hale, Colorado. Camp Hale was built in 1942, and if you've ever traveled out to the Central Mountains of Colorado, if you go past Vail and you're on your way to Beaver Creek, there is a turnoff on the highway on I-70 towards Minturn. And if you go up, which at that point you're going south, you go south towards Leadville. In between Minturn and Leadville, there was a military base called Camp Hale. And they trained infantry men to be able to do winter reconnaissance missions and be very well trained in wintry conditions, because World War II at the time was being fought, of course, all over the world, but a lot of it was centralized in the Alps. And so the Italian Alps, the German Alps, Austrian Alps, and they were training to be able to fight in those conditions. And so the 10th Mountain Division did end up going to Europe, I believe in January of 1945, and they were fighting in the Italian Alps. And ultimately, not solely because of their efforts, but months shortly thereafter, the Germans surrendered in Italy. And that was the first big shoe to drop in the end of World War II. So the 10th Mountain Division, a lot of the people came back, and a lot of them, of course, were well-trained skiers and mountaineers, and were responsible for opening over 60 ski resorts across the United States. A lot of the former soldiers created ski areas, and I don't have a list of which ones they did, but Colorado.
You can find that
very
information
central.
on
We can find that
on the
online.
internet.
Yep, on the interwebs.
On the World Wide Web.
The www.
AskJeeves.com.
Yep, or you can go to Yahoo or wherever you get your news.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10th Mountain, anyways, it's named after this distillery is named after the 10th Mountain Infantry. And if you still travel out to Colorado, you can go up to these mountain huts that are on the top of a lot of the ridges and 14,000 foot mountains around the state, and that are, I believe, many of them were originally built to help house the soldiers who were training in the high alpine terrain. So pretty cool.
Very cool.
So
yeah.
holy shit! All right.
So
well,
cool that.
that did not end up on the chair. Which
No,
is
that's how you make it breathe.
good. Yeah. One of the things you definitely don't want to do when drinking whiskey is shake it.
Okay.
Unless you're James Bond, and then you can. He prefers it shaken. So that helped open up the notes. But the first thing we do when we taste our whiskey is to smell it. So back to 10th Mountain rye whiskey. So this one's a rye. So let's do a little quiz. So mash bill. What is a mash bill? Do you remember?
I've never listened to this podcast before, so I'm just kidding.
0-time listener, first-time guest.
Mash bill is the like ratio of whatever, like corn or barley or rye or wheat or
Correct.
sorghum.
I don't think they use sorghum. It is the ratio of grains in the whiskey. Now, this is not a bourbon. It is a rye. So it is 69% rye. And the other 31% are made out of corn and malted barley. And I believe all of those grains, and we can fact check this with some of our friends at 10th Mountain, but I believe all of them are sourced locally, which is true for a lot of Colorado whiskeys, as many of those products are taken from either Colorado or from Wyoming. Maybe sometimes Nebraska for corn, but they're all sourced regionally. So we should give it a smell and kind of get what we're pulling out of that.
Smells like a rye bread immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has some of that spiciness in the rye for sure. A little bit of oak, at least according to the tasting notes, which would come from the barrel. A little bit of like a dark fruit, like maybe a prune or a date. A little swish. Again, for our audio listeners who love listening to swish and whiskey. All right. Nose, yeah. A little caramel, a little light cinnamon. The flavor's very nice.
Yeah.
A little toffee, like a little Heath bar. This is a shout out to one of my favorite YouTube shows is Tim and Eric,
Oh yeah.
where he does Tim and Eric's kitchen.
Yeah.
Where he's just slopping the mustard all around.
Yeah.
He's making everything's made with ketchup
Yeah.
and mayo, and
And
he
just
he
hands-
slops it all around, sloshes everywhere, just pushes it all back in the bowl with his hand.
Yeah. So Tim and Eric, if you're listening to this, we like your stuff.
You're
That's
an
all.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Tim Heidecker and Eric. All right, next up. Finish dry with lingering spice and oak. Yeah, sure. I mean, it tastes good. It's actually I'm going to give them the shout out too. Global Spirits Competition, double gold for North American whiskey and bourbon. This particular rye is their most award-winning rye. It's very nice. It's very nice. I
Yeah, the
like it.
spiciness is nice.
So we're going to do something a little bit uncustomary with this next bit here, but as is pretty typical with me and my bro, is we can get into talking at length, and we also are trying to be mindful of the length of our podcast. And so we're going to pick up about halfway through the next segment where we were talking about artificial intelligence. I think it should be a fairly seamless transition for our listeners here. And for some context, Zach shares a little bit in the first half about his background as a doctorate in philosophy. And as he did his program, he also picked up a lot of interest and passion within technology and artificial intelligence. And so we had a great full discussion about that. And this is the second half that we're all going to listen to here, where we jump in with a question about how do we know that we're not actually living in a state of artificial intelligence. So give it a listen and look forward to your comments in our YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, wherever you're getting your podcasts at. Leave us your thoughts and questions, and here we go. I think the question on my mind is, how do we know that right now I'm not interacting with a robot?
I don't want to go down that road, man.
I mean, but
a lot
right,
of-
it could be. I think we have evidence to
I mean,
suggest it wouldn't
if you want to follow that path, I would ask you, like, what would indicate to you that something's not quite human, or why? And maybe a more general question: why is it that we define human intelligence as like this the pinnacle to reach, where we see forms
Right.
of intelligence in
Correct.
other species
correct,
that we don't have, like
right?
octopuses?
No, that's a big question. I think there's a lot of ways to answer that, but I think it's because we at the moment have found ways to physically dominate the rest of the world until we won't and can't. And we are potentially creating tools that will dominate us. And what I would like to hope is, I mean, my hope would be that humans can figure out how not to destroy ourselves. The evidence isn't compelling that will happen. But that nature wins and not machines. And I think nature will win out at the end of the day, because it is overwhelmingly more powerful than anything that our intelligent brains can create, because it is just so much beyond our control. But that being said, I asked that question somewhat in jest about how do we know that we're not artificially intelligent beings. I think we know the answers.
Well,
we're not. But what is the end goal of? I think this would be kind of one of our last questions before we wrap. But what do you think those who are invested in artificial intelligence creation, whether they be programmers, big thinkers, big idea people, designers, the technical end of it, the thinking end of it, both, what is the end goal that I would say the general innovators are leading towards? I'm not talking about extremists.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this heading? Where do people want it to head from what you can tell?
I mean, I think that can open up, and I know you're intending to close the dialogue here, but like that can open up a lot of aspects of our artificial intelligence that the general public might be more interested in thinking about, which is the political, ethical ramifications of it and the economic ramifications of it. Like, for example, in my job, I very happily use ChatGPT all the time when I'm writing code, because it provides often a template that I can just quickly modify. I understand the code. I don't need to, I'm not just having it do my work, but in a sense I am. I'm offloading the more tedious part of my work onto a tool, and that's one way that it can be very useful. But it also, there are people that are concerned that it would potentially take away their jobs. And then I think there's a certain weird like insecurity among people that they feel like they need to be super skeptical about AI and say, oh, it's not even it's just a computer program. It's like, yes, but to give a very, very general definition of what's going on in AI, again, not speaking as like a expert in this area, but the type of algorithms and the type of computer processing that is going on, that machine learning or deep machine learning, involves sort of a black box that the programmers themselves don't quite understand exactly what's going on. And
What do you mean?
So, I mean, very generally, it involves creating kind of layers of different.
Are computers making inferences?
I'm trying to think.
Complex inference.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going on is it's more of a probabilistic way of looking at coding, where you have weights that you give to different criteria. So, for example, the very like the easiest example is like CAPTCHAs, like what we have to solve when you're to say, are you a robot?
Oh, right.
So, but like maybe even stepping back from that, like just recognizing what a picture is. So they would feed the AI model thousands of pictures of cats from different perspectives,
Right.
from different angles, obscured in different ways, and get it to recognize or to link cat with those different images. And they're essentially just, gathering from that the pixels and giving them different values, and then those are all.
It's data.
Yes, but there's also a reinforcement involved in that. So something like that will correct, like say that that's correct or that's not correct, and that can be done by an actual human supervising and saying
Right.
yes or no,
Okay.
and then that helps the model change something underneath the hood. That's what I was saying, is that all that stuff underneath the hood, when you analyze it from, you output it as like a graph or whatever. Again, I'm speaking probably very in wrong terms here. It kind of looks like spaghetti. It's just lines of different things happening, and you can't easily parse what's going on in that model to make it learn that. So
Are people designing that model, or that's just happening?
they design the model. They give it its different
boundaries and its parameters, but
parameters.
how much of that, like, it sounds like there's a lot of unanticipated moves that these systems end up producing that technically exist around the parameters of the programming, but there's a lot of things that these AI programs are almost doing to quote unquote think
Yeah, I mean
independently.
the term here
almost.
is neural networks, and they're based off of vaguely an analogy to our own neurons and the way that we might process things. And so I think one way to look at it is kind of going back to your point about nature versus artificial intelligence, is that I think that a lot of the work is trying to look at nature and look at the way that nature solves problems and figure out a way to artificially imitate that. And so that could be at the level of the brain, or it could be at the level of evolution, and looking at how evolution is essentially throwing it's just trial and error at an insanely big scale, and you're going to have just the majority of it is going to be a failure, and then certain things work out given
Right.
the environment,
Right.
the necessities of what it would mean to survive. And so that's where you get interesting work that's trying to kind of bridge that gap of nature and artificial intelligence. And so
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I guess I kind of went on a tangent into explaining maybe the more technical side, but the end goal stuff, I think from one perspective, the academic perspective, it's understanding. It's what led me into the I don't want to say field because I don't work in it,
Sure.
but it's coming at very old philosophical problems from a new, very tractable perspective. Like tractable in the sense that you can code it, you can build it, you can break it down to the pieces, and you can there's proof of concept in what comes out of it.
Okay.
Descartes probably would have liked that kind of thing, or Aristotle, or all of them would have liked to be able to say, here, yeah, this is what I'm trying to get at. But then from a different perspective, to be my political cynical self, it's to make money. The typical incentives that drive everything in our society.
Yeah.
And more cynical, I think, to offload work in the same way that we've done with outsourcing labor. And
Jamie, what word comes to mind for you? Begins with a C.
Can you restate the prompt?
What word?
it rhymes with apitalism.
Okay.
We want to give Jamie a lob every week to commentary on capitalism. I think we're 4 out of 5 episodes. But
Jamie,
yes,
we missed an opportunity to talk about capitalism this whole thing. So
let me close with this
Yeah.
question. One of two
I
questions.
love
We
capitalism.
always end with what do we learn, so start thinking about that. AI, will it be a net benefit for society? Yes or no? And if you answer yes, under what conditions
Are you
will
defining
that
benefit?
happen? Right? Like yes, it's a net benefit if. And we all get to answer that question. Zach, would you like to start?
You wanted me to start?
Yeah.
I mean, as a typical philosopher, I'll say, well, let's define that. Let's define what a benefit would be. But I think simply, yes, I think that it offers something that could very much become a benefit for society. But the same caveats apply to anything that we develop and innovate, where it can just as easily be used for bad things that will ultimately lead to our destruction. And I think that the possibilities it offers for either one of those is exponential, in the sense that it could be exponentially good for us and exponentially bad for us, just because of the way that it could develop and kind of snowball out. So
if it were to be good, it would be good as long as blank. What is your condition to manage a successful build out of artificial intelligence? What is the one thing you would say humans need to make sure happens?
I don't know. The humans need to stop being human. I mean, I feel like humans are the ones that are fucking everything up. Just and so, yeah, I think I would go hard on that point about I think it's inevitable that this will happen, but the innovators that are looking at it purely from an economic standpoint and one of how can this lead to my profit, that would be the worst possible thing that can happen of it, because that's going to turn into slavery in a certain sense of, you can toy with the idea, could the AI actually be considered a slave if it becomes sufficiently intelligent? And then two, the way that it could affect human workers, and it's like a new form of outsourcing. So I think that would be what would lead it. That would be the worst
for those with economic interest to be part of making critical decisions.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. That's good insight. My answer would be: is artificial intelligence going to be a net benefit for society? Man, I'm going to lean slightly yes, with a huge caveat. I like how you added the economic angle. And actually, the more I think about it, that really is the reason that when you put people together who have to make decisions about what we allow or what we don't allow, the reason somebody would make a bad decision is because of selfish interests, and those selfish interests tends to often be about money or power or both, and those are the people who will be in charge of making these decisions. So will it end up being a net benefit for society? I'm skeptical. Could it be a net benefit for society? Absolutely. I think technology has that ability, but my caution would be there needs to be high degrees of regulation in the hands of multiple people in a somewhat democratic sort of manner, but not like straight up power to the people manner, but like there needs to be a lot of eyes and a lot of checks and balances, because it is a tool that I think could carry with it some major detriment.
Can I just comment on the democracy part, just from a technology perspective? Open source software is a concept where everyone, there's no patent on the software, so the code is open to everyone to look at and analyze and change.
AI, right?
And yes, and there's a whole debate about that with OpenAI, but I think part like a very practical way to look at that would be like, what would it look like to have a very open source approach instead of having it be privatized, where we see politicians always in the pockets of what is the economic interest for the shareholders. If you make it more like a democratic open source approach, I think that might be interesting to look at. I just don't know what that would mean. But anyway.
Jamie, will AI be a net benefit And if so, under what conditions, or just straight up it won't be?
Yeah, so a couple things here. OpenAI's mission statement. OpenAI was deliberately structured to advance our mission to ensure that artificial intelligence, general intelligence, benefits all humanity. You know, like, so I think like there is a group of people who, you know, believe in the right safeguards, and there's like a chance that it could. Now that, you know, OpenAI's board got Altman out of there, and now he's on his way back potentially with the board going down. I don't see a way for like the best of us, the best of humanity, to be exercising like agency over the power structures right now. So like without a big change there, I would say like we're all doomed, and I'm not sure like AI is going to be the thing that takes us all down. But, you know, AI in the hands of the masses, of the workers, all of those things like have a promising future. I think like the last time a technology did what the best of humanity promised it would do, like it's been a long time. You know, the internet I think is a pretty good example, and the internet is super toxic, even though it's been like amazing and changed our lives. You know, some would say for the better. We certainly are not going back unless we're kicking and screaming. Yeah, but yeah, I would say the best of humanity has got to take control of the reins, and you know, the worst of humanity is willing to like literally like nuke the earth. So I don't really see the path forward right now.
So seize the means of production, where the means of production are AI in this new world.
The Hollywood writers got that in their contract. Like the AI is going to be in their hands for them to like supplement and create like greater efficiency with their work. It's not going to be in the hands of like
the producer.
Yeah, right. Which they would just skip the step of creative.
Which I just know it would just be all the things that AI would produce would just be hilariously bad.
It won't be as good as this podcast.
Dumber. Yeah. So I kind of want that to happen.
Cheers to the greater members of society who care about others, who are less selfish than others, and who wish those future generations well. Cheers to them. Cheers to you, Zach. Cheers to you, Jamie. Again, to Jamel, who will be back on our next one, hopefully very soon. Props to 10th Mountain Whiskey for providing us with something great to drink tonight. We didn't even try the brandy, which is also quite good. And
is that also
thanks, Zach, thanks for coming out, bro. It's been good to have you on the show, and I'm glad we made this happen. Give it a listen. For those who are making it all the way to the end, thanks for giving it a listen. Drop some comments in on whether YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcasts at, and let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about in the future, and cheers to everyone. Thanks. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me out. You can find me on MySpace. That's it. Thank you.
With a Metallica background.
Yes.